All right, so I don't normally have my microphone in frame, but I've got to move it back over there in just a second because I'm going to go over to the computer. I needed to get this off my chest. I've been using Cubase / Nuendo now for about 6 or 8 months, and there's so many things about it I absolutely love, especially after coming from several decades over in Pro Tools HD / HDX world. I abandoned them because I hate Avid these days, but regardless of that, I have most of the major platforms out there. I have Logic, I have Studio One, I have Cubase and Nuendo and Pro Tools. And so ultimately, there's one thing that is mind-boggling in 2023 that Cubase does not have this very simple feature, and that is the ability to export and import your I/O settings. Freaking Pro Tools, the demon DAW of the planet, has had it for decades at this point. And it's absolutely insane that you cannot do that within Cubase or Nuendo. Insane, without some workarounds. So what would happen is every so often I would just launch the application. All of a sudden my I/O would just be gone and I would have to reassign it. I have numerous hardware I/O configured into my I/O routing, external hardware devices. And so a lot of those are through MADI via my Pulse 16 connected to my RME UFX Plus. And to lose that means I have to pull my Excel spreadsheet back up because I don't really remember the connection of every one of these off the top of my freaking head. So I have to go through and reassign the I/O multiple times. 2 days ago, I had to do it 3 times in one day. I've done every search on the planet, how to export and import I/O settings. I did find one thing that I'm going to share with you today that I hope solves it, but I can't guarantee it will for you. And now I'm going to show you me reassigning it here in a second and show you the pain in the butt that I've got to go through to be able to do that. But for those of you out there that maybe don't have a lot of I/O connected where you have those settings, it's probably a no big issue to you. But for those of us that do, look, Steinberg, for goodness sakes, please get this right. All right. Enough of the rant. Let's head back over to the computer and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, so here's a session in Nuendo that I'm using for demonstration for another video coming up regarding, assigning I/O and everything through RME's Total Mix. You can see here that I basically got a big chunk of my outboard hardware kind of routed through this as hardware inserts, because I'm going to be showing folks how to do that with RME Total Mix and then routing within that using loopback. But that's another video for another day. So anyway, all of a sudden, if I go in here right now and if I were to hit play as an example, I'm not hearing any audio. You hear any audio? I don't hear any audio. I wonder why. Well, it's because all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I've lost the fact that my UFX was my main I/O. And so it just goes out for whatever reason and just goes away. And that seems to be one common denominator. There was nothing unusual. And as an example, right, this happens all the time, and it doesn't necessarily, there's not a crashing of the system, a crashing of the computer, no power off, nothing. All of a sudden, it will just completely forget that the UFX is there. And so I think that's probably the core of it. But regardless of what gets us there, right, that's not what this is about. This is about the fact that why can't I just save it? What if I want to do various hardware or I/O configurations because I go from one location to the next? I should be able to export those and import those however I want. So now that I'm back to my UFX Plus, my RME UFX Plus, and I go up here into my audio connections, well, you're going to see here, as far as my external effects are concerned, that it's not routed properly. It just defaults back to just the generic, these are all outboard hardware that I have, and it's just defaulting back just to the sequence of analog I/O starting in the beginning because 1 and 2 are used for my monitors out, and so it's starting with 3 and then 4 and so on. But that's not what it's connected to. Now, sometimes, as an example, if I go to output, sometimes this won't even be configured correctly. This time it was. Same thing for inputs. It lost all of my inputs. I have every input labeled for different things. I have all kinds of different mic pre's connected up through different I/O. They're all just gone. Not only did it forget the routing, they're just gone. So I'd have to start that all over again. And this happens so many times, it drives me nuts. So if I want to go in here to my external effects, as an example, and route these, let me go ahead and just expand all of these and choose the UFX as the device that they're going to be connected through. Now, these are all connected to my Ferrofish Pulse 16, which is connected to my Fireface Plus via MADI. And so ultimately it's seeing that as one device, the Fireface, because it doesn't really recognize that the Pulse is connected. It's just another series of IOs available to it. So as I go down through here and I select my IO, as I go through each one of these, you can see how time consuming this is. I mean, it happens so much. It's just, there's points. The other day I just said, forget it. I'm going to stop using this. This is not worth my time and my effort. And then reality came back. I've spent so much time learning it, and I do love so much about it that, you know, this is a quirk I've just got to contend with for now until hopefully they can come up with something, or hopefully the little workaround I'm going to try and show you guys here in a minute will suffice at the end of the day and make it somewhat easier. Now, it won't give me the ability to, I'll talk about that more when I get to it. So, okay, so here we've got this, right? And so you can see how it's just gone in sequential order, right? Whatever was available next. So now I have to pull, thank God I have this spreadsheet. I have two Bantam patch bays wired up in my studio. And so everything is pre-wired in there, you know, and everything is normal. So in other words, if I want to connect certain things, I don't have to patch anything in. It's automatically set to route most of it without needing any patch cables. But anyway, as you can see here, through the Pulse Output 1, which I happen to know is MADI 1, then I've got that WA-LA2A. So here, for this one, I would have to scroll down to MADI 1 for my in and out. And I'm literally going to go through all this in real time. My HA73, and the thing is, not all these are in sequence. My HA73 EQ is, well, this one's a unique one because I've got this wired in my patch bay where I can take a Bantam mic cable and connect into the channel strip, and that way it'll go through the mic pre and the EQ. But I also have the EQ wired as a hardware insert. So if I want to go out just to the EQ, I'm set up to do that without any patching needed. So in other words, my input is going to happen on MADI 3 and my output on MADI 2. And so my send is on MADI 2 and my return is on MADI 3. No, I've got that backwards. Sorry. My send is on MADI 3 and my return on MADI 2. Okay. So then next we've got the WA Pultac. Let's go back over here and see what that is. That is in 4 as an example. And so now I'm going to go MADI 4. And a lot of these are in sequence, but I'm not going to go through. I guess you could say, Barry, why don't you just get back there and rewire how you do everything so they're in sequence to make this easier on you? Well, yeah, I could do that, but should I really have to do that is the frustrating thing. There's that 1176, and that is MADI 5. I mean, just think about this. I mean, I know this is kind of an insanely long video just for this particular rant, but it goes to show you in real time the pain in the butt this is to be able to get all of this right, so that when you choose one of these hardware IOs in Cubase, that ultimately it's going to route it the right way. Otherwise, you'll be like scratching your head. Why am I not hearing that? Okay. And then we got a WA73 EQ. I have the same thing done for that. So here with the input, which is going to be MADI 8, and the output is going to come in through MADI 7, right? So we're going to come out, because this is the output, the in and the out for the whole channel strip. So input is 8 and then going back into 7. I don't mean to overcomplicate that for some of you that are not used to doing this. But that's how I have it done. And if you have any questions about that, we can probably talk about that offline. All right. Then next up is going to come up this Lindell 7X, and that's going to be 9. Now let's just say you're in the middle of a creative, you're feeling really creative, thinking, man, I've got to get this going. And then you have to come back and deal with this crap. Okay. And then the PEX is 10 and my DBX is 11. So let's see if I can remember that. This is MADI 10. But if you notice, here's one that is out of sequence. And my DBX 160 is right here. So that's actually MADI 11. And let's see what's up after that. We've got the Stam audio that is in 12 and 13. That's a bus compressor. So here we have Maddie, what did I say, 12 and 13? I will double check that. I'm pretty sure that's what I said. 12 and 13, and then, oh, no, what am I doing here? Sorry. 12 and 13, and then back in 12, and then 13. Okay, we've got that. Next up is the Tegler Cream, and let's see where I've got that done at. That is in 15 and 16, although that's mislabeled. Maddie 15. Expand those because it's stereo. 15 and 16. Yeah, got to go 15 here, sorry. 15 and 16, and then the return 15 and 16. And then next up is going to be, I have a generic hardware insert, just ignore that for now. Then I have the Dynamics 2808, and that is all wired a different way, so I don't actually have that wired in. That's one of the other I/O that I have going through there, so I'm going to ignore that for the sake of this discussion. Just kind of ignore that you saw that, and the same thing for the 760. So the only one that I think I'm missing was the LA3A. Yeah, there it is right there. And if I go to the Audioscape LA3A, we're going to say that is 14. So now if I come back over here, that is Maddie 14. Now, I didn't mean to confuse you by those other pieces. Those are recently just added to this, and they're actually wired through the I/O of my RME UFX Plus. But I don't have all that labeled properly, so I don't want to misdo that now. And so now I've got all of this back and done correctly. So now that when I go to, hit play or something, I'm going to hear some music. Okay, so there you heard that coming through right there. So that's what I have to go through every time. You see how time consuming that is? It drives me absolutely nuts. Now, there was a workaround. See if I can remember where to do this. And I'm going to hit save again. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and close on out of here. And then I'm going to go, let me go ahead and get out of here. I don't need this. And then here I'm going to go into my, my user library. And so here I'm going to go to my computer. I'm going to go to users and then Barry Johns. And here if I go up here and I hold down my option key, see how library comes and opens? See library down there at the bottom. It keeps showing. Hold that down. Go into library. Okay, so I just turned the UFX off, and now I'm going to launch new window. All right, so here we are. It's clearly showing that I don't have the connection to the Fireface UFX. I'll bring up the same session that I just had before. Okay, here we can see that nothing is mapped. So let's go down here and just make sure that we assign the UFX Plus as our I/O device. Go ahead and switch over to that. I'm going to go up here to our I/O settings, and we're going to see here that nothing, in fact, is mapped. We have lost it all as I expected it to happen. So now I'm going to close out new window. We're going to go back and test this all over again. Pull up another Finder window here. Then I'll navigate over to the same location I was at before. So now we're going to go into users. We're going to go down to the library. Then we're going to go over to preferences. From there, we're going to navigate down to Nuendo 12. For you, that may be Cubase. And then we're going to scroll down and look for the external plugins. I'm going to delete that just in case. I'll leave it in my trash. And I'm going to go back to my desktop and bring that file back up. So now I've replaced that file with the one that I copied to my desktop before. We'll launch Nuendo and see what we get. We'll pull up the same file again. All right, noting again that it recognized that I've got my UFXs connected, of course, because it had not been turned off in the meantime. Go up to your audio connections. Let's expand that down, and bam, it's all routed properly. So ultimately, this is your workaround in case this is happening to you. Just find a location where you store that particular hardware effect setting so you can drag that over at any time. If you ever create any alternate ones, you can do that. Just create a subfolder that tells you that's what it is, and you can drag over whichever one you want to use depending on what you're doing. Hopefully this has helped you. Okay, so now that I've showed you that, look, I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way. I'm a huge fan of Cubase/Nuendo, a huge fan. I really enjoy the program. There are some quirks, but then again, there's no digital audio workstation that does not have them. They all have something about them. So if anything, Steinberg, take this as just one user basically screaming from the rooftops, fix this very simple problem and make it easy and not have to try some kind of a workaround. So if you like the things I talk about in this channel, do me a favor, hit that like, subscribe, notify, all that stuff that helps me grow the channel. Leave me some comments down below. Tell me your experiences. If you think I'm just whiny and I'm out of my mind, it's okay, say that, but don't be rude about it. It's okay, I can take criticism. You can't be on YouTube and not be able to take criticism. But anyway, until next time, I hope all of you have a great day. Bye-bye.